Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. This is Steven. Behind me we have the Toyota Tundra back in the shop. It's winter season, and so the Toyota Tundra is sort of off towing duty for the next few months. And this is the time of year that I like to do just small upgrades that I think about throughout the year. So today we're going to be installing the console vault. I will go over the installation and my overall impressions of the product. That's all coming up right now. So pretty simple packaging. Out of the box you have the console vault itself, installation instructions here, and then specific instructions for the lock that this model is equipped. This has the CV Elite lock. It's the 4-digit dial lock. It's actually feels pretty good quality. I think this is one of the later model locks that they've introduced. You've got a couple of bolts for installation, and then they do give you new felt for the bottom, and it's already pre-cut. That's really nice, and it actually feels thicker than OEM, so that's really nice. Initial impressions, this feels really sturdy, real heavy, and I don't see any blemishes in the finish. It's like powder coated, like a texture matte powder coat. See if it'll zoom in there. But no, it's like I'm a bit of a perfectionist, let's be honest. And this thing is perfect. I mean, it really is. There's no issues with the finish. So it's quite nice, very well built. And you know what? I've got a scale right here. Let's pop it up there. There's the scale. Let's see how much this bad boy weighs for all the payload police. We'll get a weight, and then you can, if you decide to put one of these in your truck, you can throw a sticker in your door jamb. So this is coming in at, this says 16.4 pounds. So there you go. Reduce your payload accordingly if you care about those little things. So anyhow, gonna get going on the installation. Everything, like I said, looks pretty good quality, and I'll let you know what I come across. Okay, so real quick with the instructions, it says, number one is, if applicable, reset the combination lock. I'm not gonna bother doing that before we install it. And then number two is pretty obvious, remove all your contents from the center console. And then remove two 10mm hex bolts from the passenger side of the console. And then 4 and 5, and there's pictures here of 4 and 5, and that involves taping up your console so you don't scratch it when you kind of shove this. You can see you can fit this thing in there without taking the lid off. And then 6 is just verify its armrest is closed and it fits in there. I'm going to just go ahead with like steps 6 and 7, and that's removing the lid. Coming over here, like I can see why they recommend that, because this doesn't open like it opens almost all the way, but you can see there you could go more. And I think as we tried to shove that in down here, that's why they have tell you to tape this up so you don't scratch it up. I'm just gonna take this lid off. I've had it off there before. It's super easy. So I'll just grab a trim removal tool. I have found the easiest way is to actually wedge a tool right here, open the console, wedge one there, and that pops that back trim back. And then there's just like maybe 8 or so little screws right there that come off, and then this whole thing comes off. So I'm gonna go that route. But anyway, let's get the first step done, which is take your factory felt out, and then we're gonna remove this screw and that screw, the OEM, because mine's the half console safe. So you only remove that one and that one. So we'll get going. So we'll see if we can do this one-handed. That's fun about filming this stuff. So we're gonna take the pry tool, see if I can even see, right here, right on this gap, push it up, come back to this side, and get this, there we go. This seems to be a pretty good spot. See, you just push that just a little bit. Try again on this side. There we go. So we've got it wedged up. switch hands. Try a little more right here. Hopefully this shows up okay. We'll go back over here. All right. So we've got the top part wedged up there. I think maybe the lid might be preventing it from going all the way. Let's go around back, see what we see. I've got an all-weather floor mat. I took that out because it fits tight up against the bottom here. Let me turn this light on. Fits tight up against the bottom right here, and it can make it so this is harder to pop off of here. But you can see got a little gap right here already, so let's see if we can just... And I'm not using the tool anymore, I'm just using my hands. Going slow. And there we go. I do have a wiring harness up here. It might be different than a factory because I have got the wireless charger. Just going to set this down. It's pulling on this wire a little bit, but it looks like okay. So all we need to do is, see if this will focus. Take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 little Phillips screws out. They look like they could be 8mm, but I'm just gonna use a Phillips. We'll get that going. All right, so just gonna put a little towel under here to maybe hold that harness in a little bit of slack. We'll get going on these. We'll just lift this off of here and set it to the side. Okay, and that's all there is to it. You've now got full access to the console. And we'll get started taking these screws out. Pretty simple. They're just easy to get to, really. If you watch my videos, you will know I don't usually use like a drill for this stuff, especially in areas where I'm going into plastic at risk for stripping it out. Now, these aren't going into plastic, but to me it's just, I take my time, especially on reassembly, to where make sure I'm not cross-threading anything. Now, factory, these holes are like elongated, so there's some play there. Mine seems to be pretty well centered. They did a good job at the factory centering it. What I would probably recommend is loosening these other two, because the console is going to sit here at this level, and so that's a much longer angle. If this is off a little bit, it's much longer of an angle for the bolt to be, rather than straight, it could be angled like this or like this, because you've got about 2 inches there and about 1 inch there of gap. So I'm gonna just loosen these. And that will allow this to just move around a little bit. So when I slide this in there, and actually I think I just thought of something. I'm gonna make a couple parts for this, because the way it's designed, and let's double check, let's pop back over it. Yeah, so the console vault. Okay, so this has an indentation of about, I'll measure it, but it looks to be right around 5 mil. So here's the bottom, and then that's why it has these much longer bolts, because the back one has to go all the way down where you saw that 2-inch gap, and then bolt into the factory spot. Same with this one, this is about 1 inch. You can see these bolts are, again, 2 different sizes. I'm gonna 3D print some spacers, so that way when you tighten this, it's not just pressing down on, come back over here. It's not just using this to press down on. The truck was designed to clamp right here on this lower. I'm sure pressing down on here is fine. They've probably done a lot of testing, but for me, I think if I could build some spacers that would bring this up to here, -5 mil or whatever that indentation is on the console vault itself, to where it's clamping down at this point too. Like, we want it to fit snug here, but we also want it to use this point as the clamping point. Not press down here because, you know, this isn't necessarily engineered to be the clamping force on the console. It's down there. So I'm going to print some parts and we'll get those going, and then I'll come right back. So here's what I came up with. Again, revisiting, these are our longer bolts here. I just printed some spacers. That one. I think this one's 59 millimeters, which is the total dip minus, this is actually a 5 millimeter inset. I think this is like 24. I'll put the exact specs, and I'll put even links to those parts if you want to print them. Probably unnecessary, but I'm here, and so why not? The one rub I do have with console vault is I think they probably should have included some washers. This is an elongated hole too, and the bolt head isn't that much bigger. So I don't know what size these are, I just had them laying around. But I found some washers, so this will be getting installed with washers. Just because, man, everything is so much fun with one hand. I just think that's much better, right? Use a washer than just the bolt. So throw a couple washers on there if you care. These are probably unnecessary, but it's just me, and I have a printer, and why not? These take like 2 minutes to throw in the printer, print up. So basically you'll have this, and then this will be in between. See that? And then I'll kind of show you where these will sit. So we'll use the longer one here. It's gonna sit, oh, sorry about that. It's gonna sit down in there, and that fills that gap to where it presses down where factory designed that bolt to press down. So anyhow, other than that, I'll slide it in there. We'll bolt it in and get ready to go. It's bolted in. Feels really sturdy. You know, every bit as sturdy as the console is. Got those 2 other bolts tightened down. I'm just using, what is this? 10 millimeter, and like I said, I'm not using a drill. Up to you if that's something you want to do, but these don't need to be that tight, just snug, you know. But you know, this is feels really good. Like I said, the quality on this feels really good. You know, you just want to make sure that since you're dealing with bolts that are like 1.5 inches, 2 inches long, that those go in straight. Make sure you're not cross-threading it, because that's, you know, that's about a 2-inch gap there. The plastic spacers worked great. They helped actually align it, and I could feel them snug down, and everything snug down to the console. Again, might be completely unnecessary, but and this lock feels really good. Like, I like that it spins. It feels real solid. And then obviously they sent instructions on how to change the combo. But even, you know, it just spins, and then you put your combo in. And what I like, and I don't know about the others, is you can just leave it unlocked when you don't have anything important in there. And that way you're not doing the combo to get into it every time. So that's nice. Oh, but let's throw the felt in there real quick. Let's go get that. Open the camera. It's always fun. Alright. This felt feels great. Kudos to Console Vault. This is like better than OEM, so that's great. Maybe that makes up for the lack of washers I was giving them a hard time about. All right. No, that's really well done. You know, these Tundra consoles are pretty vast and hold a lot of things, and even if you don't need like an actual vault, it's kind of nice from an organization standpoint. Okay, so now that that is installed, we're just going to put the cover or the lid back on. Again, I think it's just these 8 bolts. This is spring loaded, so you want to make sure that you don't put all the weight of it on just one of these screws as you're threading it in. Otherwise it might just pop that screw right out. There you're only threading into plastic here, so take your time. I'm supporting it at the top. And then snapping the cover back on. All set. Installation is completed. The lid went on with no problem. One thing that kind of threw me off at first is this gap's real small and then the overhang's big, so it looked like the lid was like tilted this way, but it's actually the same on both sides. And it's so don't let that throw you off if that happens to you. But feels great. Like I said, finish on this is really nice. It's sturdy. Well, as sturdy as can be for a console safe. But since I was printing those spacers, I've always wanted like just an organizer tray. So I was like, well, I'm going to take an attempt at printing an organizer tray. And this is what I came up with. I am not a professional designer by any means. I just did some basic measurements and printed something that would work for what I usually put in my truck, or I usually jump in and I have 3 or 4 things that I usually dump in here. And one is the key, and so I put a little compartment there for the smart key, and I happen to be a Ridge wallet user, so I made a little spot for that, and then a spot for the iPhone. And then sunglasses. These are wraparound sunglasses, and unfortunately they do not fit up there. They're too deep, so that's always been a slight annoyance. So when I was printing this, I took the liberty of making a spot that I could throw my sunglasses in. Now, it's not perfect. I actually had a little support here that broke off. It turns out it wasn't needed. And then I've got one extra spot for whatever. But this actually tucks. It's got a 5mm lip on it right here that fits right here, and it doesn't interfere with the lid. So you can just slide this in here. Boom. That's pretty cool. So, you know, and it's not going to rattle. It's not going to slide forward or back when you hit and you can still get access to the power outlet. And it lifts out super easy. I put Velcro, the soft-sided Velcro strip on that side on the top and this side on the bottom. And that just sits right in there. So it's not perfect, but it'll do what I need it to do and fits for my needs, and this still opens great. It does smack the lock because it sticks up, hits the lid. I don't know, no big deal, but no, super stoked. If anyone's interested, let me know in the comments and I can post up this organizer. It's not perfect. When I designed it, I did make the pass-through for a charging cable, but if you have a Pro Max phone, there's still space, but you'd have to use like a 90-degree on your USB-C because I didn't have enough length in there. It would smash the cable. And I'm limited on what I can print with the size of my printer, which is like 256, and this is 250mm lengthwise. So anyhow, super stoked on this. I've got a couple other mods I'm going to be doing to the truck while it's in its non-towing off-season in the wintertime. So if you enjoyed this video, please let me know. And let me know if you end up getting one of these console vaults, or if you have, you know, I know there's an OEM Toyota one that came with the, I don't think it's not made by Toyota, but there's a Toyota part number. And then a few other brands out there. But so far, the console vault, pretty happy with initial quality impressions. Hope you enjoyed the video. Take care. Thanks.